Everybody, I'm Chef Tom with atbbq.com, and this is Caramel Apple Cupcakes. Well, it's finally fall, the holidays are coming up. This is a great time to have another recipe in your back pocket for dessert. So today we're making caramel apple cupcakes, a cinnamon spice cupcake that's stuffed with apple pie filling, topped with caramel buttercream and salted caramel. We're gonna start with the cake batter itself. 3 eggs here, we'll get these whisked up. Now we're gonna make this easy on ourselves since we have 4 components today. We're just using a box mix for cake and a spice cake box mix. But there's a couple of things that we can do to improve it, like swapping out milk for when it calls for water, and swapping out butter, or swapping out the oil for butter in order to make it just a little bit richer. So we'll put our eggs and milk in first, add the dries on top, and once that's just about come together, add our melted butter last. That way it doesn't solidify in the cold ingredients. We're gonna scoop about 3 tablespoons of the batter into each one of our cupcake papers here in the cupcake pan. Today we're baking on the Yoder Smoker's YS640s pellet grill. It's running at 375 with apple pellets. We ended up with 18 cupcakes out of this batch. They're gonna bake for about 20 minutes until the toothpick inserted into the middle comes out clean. So it took about 22 minutes total, but what I like to do is find the biggest one to make sure it's fully cooked. That looks clean, these are good. Next we're gonna make our apple pie filling. So I've got 4 Granny Smith apples. We're gonna take the top and bottom off and then get them peeled up. I find this to be the easiest method to peel an apple, by taking the top and bottom off and then just going straight down in strips. Next we'll cut around the core. And then I want these diced down fairly small. I'll call it a medium dice. But it can't be too big if you want to fit it inside the cupcake, so that's why we got to go a little bit small here. We're going to put some citrus into this filling to brighten things up. I'm going to include a little bit of this lemon zest as well, about 1 teaspoon. Also going to take 1 tablespoon of the juice from this lemon. So now we can cook down the filling. We're going to start with 2 tablespoons of butter. We'll let that get a little bit foamy and start to brown. And then we're going to throw in our Granny Smith apples. Now we're also going to add 2/3 cup of brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of pumpkin pie spice, and 1 teaspoon of whiskey barrel smoked salt. Now I'm going to add to the lemon juice a little bit of vanilla extract, and then we're going to add our cornstarch to make a cornstarch slurry, and this is what's going to thicken that up. Just stir until all of that cornstarch is dissolved. And the apples, you can see they're starting to soften, but they're not just like totally squishable. That's right where we want them to have a little bit of texture. And then all of those juices have now melted into the sugars and the seasonings. In order to thicken that up, we're going to pour this cornstarch slurry over here and let it cook. All right, you can see that that sauce is really thickened up. At this point, we're going to throw in our lemon zest. That doesn't really need to cook. We can shut off the heat. So I'm going to throw this into the fridge to cool down while we make our caramel buttercream. First thing we need for buttercream is butter. We got 1 cup here. I'm going to throw this on the stand mixer with the whisk attachment and whip it over high speed. The butter has become very pale in color. You can see how much volume we've added by whipping it. So now what we're going to do is incorporate the powdered sugar. I've got 4 cups of powdered sugar. I'm only going to add about half right now. Once that's incorporated, we'll add the rest. And at this point, we want to go at a much slower speed. Just want to wait until there's not much dry left, and then we'll add the rest. So once that looks mostly hydrated, I'm just going to scrape this down, make sure everything's mixing evenly. Well, let's just whip this over a little higher speed, keep that fluff going, and then we can start to add the rest of our ingredients. So we've got a little bit of vanilla we're going to throw in there. Got some heavy cream. Just going slow so it doesn't shoot right out. I'm gonna throw in about a 1/4 teaspoon of this whiskey barrel smoked salt. And we're gonna scrape this down one more time and add our caramel. So 1/3 cup of caramel in there. So we're just gonna finish this out by hand. It's mostly incorporated, but give it a little scrape down in a mix. Got some streaks of caramel in there, but I'm not sure that that's a bad thing. Looks pretty tasty. Oh yeah. So I'm gonna load this into a piping bag so we can make it look pretty on top of the cupcakes. So now we're gonna core out our cupcake so that we can put some of that filling in there. I'm just using a pineapple core to kind of grab some of that, and we'll take out, you know, a tablespoon's worth so we can fit a tablespoon of filling in there. So now I've got our chilled apple pie filling. We're gonna stuff a tablespoon into each one of these. Ended up having some extra filling, so we got about 1.5 tablespoons into each one of these. So now we're ready to pipe our buttercream on. Just gonna kind of swirl it like that until it's been a minute since I've been a pastry chef. We're gonna finish this off with a drizzle of caramel on top. All right, time to get a bite. All over my face, isn't it? Now that doctored up cake mix, no problem. It's really quite delicious, especially because it's soaking in that apple pie filling. I mean, it's like hydrating the whole thing. This thing is freaking heavy. And then on top, of course, you've got the sweetness, the saltiness from the caramel, sweet saltiness. There's so much flavor in here. This is a fantastic apple dessert. You gotta give it a try. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to check out atbbq.com for all the products featured in today's video. If you enjoy the recipe, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions or comments, or there's anything you'd like to see me cook, let me know in the comment section down below, and let's be good to one another. For more recipes, tips, and techniques, head over to atbbq.com/thesauce. All things barbecue, where barbecue legends are made.